welcome to Alexander's photo session. This time from beautiful Mount Pilatus. We even have some original Swiss music up here, and I got my wife with me, who is, I must admit, a much better company than my tripod. Today's trip will be about hiking onto that mountain which you see in front of us. There is a little cross up there which marks the peak. We're gonna walk up there and we're gonna go to the dark side of the mountain in the shadows. There is a bit snowy, and then we're gonna do the hike over there. Seeing this beautiful view, so I decided to take a stop and build up my tripod, just taking a shot here. You can see that I have actually put my camera into manual mode. I am at 1/1000th of a second, aperture 5.6, and the ISO was, yeah, it's actually 100. I tried to keep it as low as possible because in the end it will increase the image quality. So we arrived in the valley. This is where we where's my hand? There's my hand. This is where we came from, and this is where we are going to. Once we're there, I will take up the drone into the air and see if I can get some great shots. See you later! We even found a bathtub, which, fun fact, is used in the summertime to get the cows which are up here to have some water. Leroy Jenkins! So, we arrived at the top. Looks amazing. So awesome. There's a shadow of my wife, and mine as well. Look at that. There's a paraglider. Amazing. You most probably don't see that on the video, but I did this once. Super cool stuff. But, you know, if you go above the clouds, the sky is always blue. You have a manual mode, which gives you full control over your camera, which is the M. You have S, which is the shutter speed mode, which is particularly useful if you want to make sure that you're at the right shutter speed, because you're focusing, or you're photographing something really fast, like, I don't know, moving objects, animals, wildlife, such things. Or maybe you want to have some long exposure shot because you're, I don't know, making a waterfall shot. Or you also have an A mode, which is called aperture priority, which is making sure that the aperture, the size of the aperture, is always set, and the other factors influencing your overall exposures are automatically set. You know, like ISO is also one of the main factors. So if you are in one of the half automatic modes, I would call them, so S or A, then the camera will automatically try to adjust the factors besides S in shutter speed and A in the aperture in A mode, to have a nice balanced overall exposure, not burning out the sky and not crushing the blacks. I personally like to shoot in M, so full manual mode, because the wheels in on my camera give me the possibility to steer the shutter speed and the aperture separately, so I can define what I want to shoot, right? If I'm, for example, I want to shoot a landscape, like in this particular case now, I have a dial wheel in the front of my camera, which is this little wheel there, which is, in my case, responsible for the aperture, and I can actually, close that down. For example, if you look at this picture right now, it says aperture 5.6, and I can make it smaller, increasing the number, right? So it means that the light amount is reduced, and you can see it also on my picture, right? The image is getting darker and darker. Just by the way, this is an advantage of a mirrorless camera, because the changes I make here are shown on the display live. So if I start making the aperture bigger, like from f10 to f9 and 8 and so on, you can see that it's actually getting brighter and brighter. I lost my focus, so back again. If I have a big aperture, the sharpness of images in the background will be reduced. If I make it smaller over, yeah, you see like this and that, I can actually put something in the foreground like a subject, and both will be more or less sharp depending on the size. The smaller the aperture, the sharper the things will be in the foreground. But since this is a landscape, I'm actually fine with around 5.6 or 6.3, that's okay. And I have a shutter speed of around 400. 1/400th of a second. My ISO is 100. As said, I always keep it as low as possible. And the shutter speed, I actually try to adjust this right now to the overall exposure of the image. I want to make sure that nothing is blown out, so the white areas, you see that the sea of clouds is not completely overexposed, and I want to make sure that the darker areas are not completely underexposed. So I have a histogram on my display, which is this thingy there. The histogram is telling you how bright or how dark your image is, and what you want to achieve is that it's more or less in the middle, like it is now. I don't have any peaks in the left side, because the left side is representing the dark areas. So if I have very dark parts of my image, the whole histogram is going to move to the left. If I have really bright things in my image, it's going to move to the right. So let's try it out. Oops. Display turned off. So if I start, let's say, reducing the shutter speed, you see 1/250th and so on, and you see the image is getting brighter and brighter, and the histogram will have moved to the complete right. There is a big peak on the right side, which means that my image is completely overexposed. So I want to start going down, so I can do this with the shutter speed. I could also decrease the size of my aperture, so I could actually, increase the number, but that would mean that the sharpness of my overall image would be adjusted. It's actually not bad, as said, if you have something in the foreground, but if you have nothing in the foreground, it's better to keep it a bit smaller, because the smaller your aperture is, the more of your lens, there will be lens spots, like, little dust spots on your lens, and they're gonna become more visible. I will show you in one image. I will take this image right now with an aperture of f6.3. You see, overall exposure is a little bit too bright, so I will reduce the shutter speed, go down to 1/400th of a second. Histogram, it's more or less in the middle, so I will take this shot. This looks good now. Focusing. Okay. And now I will take another shot where I will try to reach the same overall brightness of the image, but I will close down the aperture. You see, the number is getting bigger, so I'm closing it. Less light is getting in. The image is getting darker, and I'm increasing or decreasing the shutter speed. Yeah, I want to have slower shutter speeds right now, just to reach the same exposure level. Now it looks more or less good at 1/30th of a second. No, it's still too bright. My histogram says it's too much to the right side. So I go and increase the shutter a little bit more. And now it should be more or less in the middle. Let's see. Yeah, looks good. Even a bit too much, so I will... Oh no, still. Now. So now I think I've reached the overall same exposure as before. So I will take this shot as well. And then I will show you in the comparison where you can see all these land spots. Well, we are completely out of breath coming up this hill. But there are people who run. What? People really running up this mountain. He's just doing that. I mean, you must have some really, really nice condition to do this. Whoa. It was a cool hike. Took some awesome shots. Was able to fly with the drone. So now back to studio, Alex. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If so, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Also, as usual, love and kisses to my wife who accompanied me during this hike. And stay tuned for next time.